Manchester City are still alive here. Balotelli, Aguero! Back, Fuchs. And the ball in behind Damian Vardy! It's 11! It's heaven for Jamie Vardy!
You are an ostrich. Well, your head must be in the sand. Is your head in the sand? Are you flexible enough to get your head in the sand?
Now the fans are shouting every week, Louis van Gaal's army! Louis van Gaal's army!
Feet after a fabulous start, the game just got away from you there.
I have nothing to say.
Nothing to say about the game at all.
Drama from day one! This is the league we want to watch!
Oh, yeah. End of season. Bottom half of the table recap. Sammy, how we living?
Living large, living small. Not sure which.
We got a great pod.
She's got a great podcast.
Yeah, there you go. Al Pacino's joined the show.
Wow, Al Pacino, big Premier League fan. Great to have you here. Al, please talk us through some of your most iconic moments in film history.
All right, let's get to the review. Should we cover what we had predicted before the season? I have that at the very bottom of the document that we have shared.
Okay. I'm pulling it up.
I'm pulling it up.
Okay. I'm not sure what order we have this. Is this from bottom
to top? Yeah.
Okay.
We hit two. We hit two on the head.
Okay.
So last year, we hit 5 of 20.
Okay.
This year so far, we have 2. I haven't looked at the top half. I know we got City right, so we're at least at 3.
All right.
We'll see from that. But so before the year, Sam and I, we balanced out our table. This table was way wackier than last year. Last year, I think the most we were off on a team was probably like 6 spots.
Yeah, this was
normally it was like 2 or 3 for the teams we were off. This was all over the board this year.
A very hard year to predict.
Yes. So in 20th we had Fulham, 19th we had Forest, 18th we had Leeds.
There's
one
our
off
first
on
one.
Leeds. Yeah.
Oh, one off.
One off, yeah.
Dang, so close.
Bournemouth 17, Brentford 16, Everton 15, Southampton 14, Wolves 13. That's the first one.
All right, Wolves. That's why
Brighton-
Hank's wearing the Wolves shirt.
Brighton 12th, and then Palace 11th. So that's the second one. Palace got 11th.
Let's go.
That's, you know what, good meal by Chelsea to finish below Palace to ensure that we were right. So let's start off 20th place.
Yeah, stinky Southampton. We thought, I don't know what we were thinking.
Well, I mean, the last few years, they've been able to patch together runs of, like, I don't know, anywhere from 5 to 10 weeks where they'll win a good chunk of them and maybe, like, draw 1 or 2, maybe lose, like, 1 or 0, but and then the rest of the year is just pretty bad.
Yeah.
They went in the year with Hans. It felt like they weren't fully committed to it. It's weird because looking back, it's like you're going youth movement, but yet you're sticking with a veteran manager.
Yeah.
Very weird. Middle of the season, you cut him off, and you go with Nathan Jones, unproven guy. You paid $6 million for him for some reason. End up sacking him. You go with Celes, who's been at the club this whole time.
Didn't really do anything.
Southampton's board this year, which took over towards the end of last year, really, really bad. Bad first full year, obviously, as they got relegated. But just real puzzling decisions. I don't hate the fact that they went younger.
Yeah.
It's just they really didn't have some of those young guys just really probably should have been in the championship for a year.
Yeah,
truly.
It was maybe a little overkill, and they didn't have the right personnel around at the club to support that kind of change.
Yeah. No 6. Che Adams fell off the face of the planet.
Yeah.
I think all you really need to know is the idea of Southampton's idea, which isn't bad, we're saying that, ditching McCarthy, Forrester, all that, and going younger. And it's like, okay, I like that. And then it's Bazunu, and you watch him and you're like, I don't like that. So it's I like the idea, but the execution was absolutely poor.
If you told me last year that it would somehow get worse
At
goalkeeper, I
and
would
not
say
even a rotation. It'd be
not
like,
possible.
wow. Yeah. I mean, they've had the worst keeper situation for a while.
Yeah, and they
Somehow made it
managed
worse.
to make it worse by
Just going with a
bringing in
19-year-old.
a League One tier player.
They thought he was Dele Alli of goalkeepers. So finished 20th. Peak of the season, double over Chelsea and Leicester. I mean, that's not saying much given what we know about those teams this season, but if you said that before, you'd be like, wow, that's pretty impressive. Maybe taking points off Arsenal in both games.
Although that second game, they really should have won.
Yeah, but they still
So it
took
was a
points off.
disappointment.
Yeah, well,
I would say the win against Chelsea, the second one at the bridge.
is that really impressive?
I mean,
Grand
it's
Potter's,
Southampton.
man.
It's Southampton, lads.
Yeah. Low point, 4 points from the last 13, or Nathan Jones for Hans. I'll let you pick. What was the low point, the bottom?
It was Nathan Jones when he went off the rails. Started talking about how he could have been a coal miner and married some Welsh woman. And at that point, we just knew, like,
It's over.
I mean, there was-
Saints, lads.
there was red flags right away with Nathan Jones when he, like, disassociated himself from
the team. Yeah,
like,
right away.
Right off. And
It's like, look, these guys, they're a bunch of losers, but we're going to turn them into winners. It's like, oh, not great start.
yeah, they wasted time with him. They brought in a bunch of guys in the winter window, and
Honestly, some of them weren't that bad, especially Chuck Alcatraz.
yes, that was
He was
That
good.
was massive.
Sulumana didn't really start popping off. He popped off against Liverpool, but that was kind of it.
Big Paul was a
was
dud.
not. Yeah, that was a dud. Your guy Jim Bree, who might play 2 games.
Yeah, that guy shouldn't be in the league.
He achieved promotion with Luton by playing half the year and also got relegated with Southampton. Big ups to that guy.
Respect. Yeah, the Celis appointment was. You could see what they were going for, but it really
Yeah, because the
didn't
players
pan
like
out.
him, but at the same time, it's like you could have just done that from the get-go rather than go with Jones. But instead you paid $6 million for Nathan Jones. That just tremendous decisions by the board all the way around.
I think
Top notch.
there were better, more established managers that were available that I think could have kept Southampton up.
Perhaps Jesse Marsh and just guaranteeing that you would keep him past this year even if you went
Yeah.
down.
Yeah, exactly.
Huh? What? Really? The Y can't pass. Somehow didn't finish as the worst passing team in most stats, but they're in the bottom 3. I think that's just, they're cheesing their way up with Celis, possession ball at the end a little bit there.
Yeah.
No striker. I mean, the Che Adams thing this year was
Horrendous.
who
Shocking.
who would want to buy him?
I don't think anyone will.
Apparently, well, Everton and there's some other team that are rumored with him, and it's like,
Everton and strikers that can't score.
yeah, spotty defense and the worst goalkeeper. Bad keys to staying up,
Yeah.
to say the least. And to touch on their defense as far as stats wise, I looked through their stats. It didn't appear that they gave up. They were still like bottom 5, 6, 7 in terms of giving up chances. But in terms of the, the quantity, I figured they would have given up a lot more than they did, but they really didn't. It just came down. Their goalkeepers, I'm just going to have you guess what the save percentage was for their goalkeepers this year.
I couldn't even tell you what a normal save percentage
Average
is.
is around like 70-ish.
Okay.
Maybe like mid 70s.
55.
51.
50. Literally every other shot is going in.
I don't know what that is. Yeah, every other shot in net's in. Hank's look ahead, and Hank's vision, we're calling this part of the pod for each team. Just transition to more possession ball is upcoming with this appointment of Russell Martin. Did you see the stat that like Swansea if you include the championship with all the top leagues in Europe, Swansea was like 4th in like average possession. They had like 67% or something like that. I don't know how I feel about that with Southampton, given the fact you have a lot of players that are more. I guess they're in a way they're quick, obviously, but
Kind of
fast.
dynamic.
Yeah, you would think that you might want to expose the counterattack more, but who knows?
Yeah.
Young player development will be huge. Obviously, you can sell a good chunk of these guys. They're asking £50 million for Ward-Prowse. Probably won't get that. I would say it'll be around more like 40 or high 30s. I think you'll probably get more for Lavia, just for the fact that he's younger and there's a little more mystery to him. But all in all, they have a couple young guys they can keep down there. Apparently, the big thing for them, why I have some faith they could bounce back, I don't think they will, but they could, is they're going to keep Chuck Alcatraz. He wants
Yeah.
to stay there.
Which
He
is
was already
crazy.
good in the Premier League, so
Yeah.
he could.
That's
he'll
such
tear up
such
the
a waste
championship.
to keep him in the championship.
Sam, what's your take or grade? I put you down as F.
Yes, they are a big fat F. They never really look like staying up, in
No,
all honesty.
unfortunately not.
Just really disappointing overall. Che
Yeah, it's-
Adams,
He was pretty much as the
really
epitome of their
disappointing.
season. I mean, that was bad. A down year from Ward-Prowse, given the fact.
Yeah.
But
for
I mean,
sure.
I still feel like it's one of those things where he kind of realized the situation and he realized like, well, no one's going to be, doing certain things and I'm going to have to step up and do that, even though it's not my strength. But I'm not here to cope for James Ward-Prowse because he just wasn't as good this year.
Yeah, honestly, the biggest problem with Southampton is that they went for the shotgun approach, just kind of throw it out there and see what sticks instead
Yeah,
of
having a
actually
plan.
having a plan.
Yeah.
And
Palace
obviously
style.
it did not work whatsoever.
Here's another team that didn't have a plan, especially late in the year. 19th place Leeds. We did have them going down. You know what, Sam, is disappointing. Last year we predicted all 3 teams that went down in order. This year we only got 1 team that went down.
Fulham, they did us dirty.
Yeah. Same with Forest. Leeds going down. Peak, the very start under Marsh, getting some good wins, including a win against Chelsea. And then a win at Anfield to keep Marsh's job. Low point, 2 points from the last 9 games. Javi Gracia letting them down. Big Sam, I guess you could say, let them down. He got a draw against Newcastle, so I mean that's all you can really ask for.
Yeah.
The why, just lack of dynamic playmaking, not creating nearly enough chances. The Rodrigo injury, amazing season in terms of goal scoring capability. And it has to be said, he wasn't amazing before, but he had moments, and he's still a young guy. But there was an incredible drop-off by Meslier. I mean, he wasn't like one of the bottom 3 keepers the years before.
Yeah.
This year he was probably second worst, but for sure bottom 3.
The second half of the season, it seemed like especially something happened and he just like fell off a cliff
Yeah.
hardcore and looked awful, like Bazunu levels of
Yeah.
awful. Rodrigo injury was massive because they had no one up front that could score. Pat Bamford, they kept rolling him out there. He's
What are you
terrible.
gonna
He's
do?
so washed. He's
Yeah.
so slow. His first touch is awful. He misses sitters. You loan out Joe Gelhart,
Yep.
and then, Jack Harrison turned it on a bit towards the end of the season, but
And I did mention that there's a lack of playmaking, and, I know you don't want to hear it because Leeds fans are like way overreacting, but Aronson wasn't good, simply put. But he also didn't have the most of chances towards the end. The most puzzling thing to me is when they're just like, Yanto, you're on the bench.
yeah.
That's like,
So
wait, what?
confusing.
And then Somerville not playing all the time. Leeds fans, again, hating
Yeah.
on him. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, there's no end product. It's like, at least he's doing something with the ball. I don't know.
And I think another big injury, Tyler Adams.
Yeah, that was
massive drop-off between him playing and not.
100%. Having a solid 6 in midfield to win the ball, obviously, huge. And then it comes down to you're playing Adam Forshaw with your Premier League life on the line. Not ideal.
Brutal.
Yeah, I mean, there was just all the stats just show how they were just lacking in terms of just general quantity in terms of attack. Their efficiency wasn't too bad, and I mean that was just held up by Rodrigo. But and the defense wasn't actually that bad early on in the year, and then as it went on, like you said, part of it's Melly, and then part of it's like Koch and Cooper and stuff kind of regressed back to regular form, and here we go.
And lack of a good, solid midfielder to kind of
Shield them. Yeah. Hank's vision and look ahead. It's official. I put the notes in yesterday, but now it's official date. The sale to the 49ers group. Couple random like NBA players also buying in.
Larry Nance Jr.
Yeah, and TJ McConnell. Very odd. They're a big club. They can draw a big manager. Apparently still rumored with Brendan Rodgers and Graham Potter. I doubt they'll drop there. They'll probably just wait for a Premier League job.
Yeah, no way those guys go to the championship.
But you can at least have your pick of any championship manager you want, or even a guy who's on the brink of Premier League championship. I think you could talk your way into getting someone from that kind of range. New board, new start, obviously, with the new sale. Victor Orta, obviously, out. Had his moments when they're in the championship, built a great team, and then, I won't say lost the plot, but just not the best of transfers when in the Premier League, to say the least.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say. I mean, they had their opportunity. They were in the Premier League for a couple of seasons here, and
yeah,
they really needed to figure out a style. They couldn't just go with the gung-ho, score 6 goals, concede 5, especially when you stop scoring goals.
Yes.
And of
Turns
course,
out you can't just play helter-skelter kind of run around football
then it just kind of fell apart into
attack.
this, like, we don't even know what to do up front at all.
Yeah. They just didn't have a striker. Sam's taken great. I gave you, as a joke, I put C for being commies and hating America.
Yeah, Leeds fans might be the most delusional fans out of all. They sit and love Pat Bamford and Junior Firpo, and then meanwhile hate
That's not forgivable.
Weston McKennie and Brendan Aronson. Like, yeah, those guys weren't good, but
Junior Firpo might be one of the worst players in the league.
If I had to watch Firpo and Bamford every week, I would like claw my eyes out. They're so bad. Obviously, there are massive problems in the team.
Yeah.
And Meslier, I mean, no one was giving him stick.
I think some fans were, but not enough given the fact that it was really bad.
Yeah. The reliance on Bamford, like, I get you didn't have a choice at the end, but you really should have brought in someone in the winter.
Yeah. Fair. 18th place, Leicester City. It still sounds odd.
Brutal. I hate to see it. I had a soft spot for Leicester in my heart.
To see it. Peak was match week 12 through 16, kind of the beginning of the turnaround. 4 wins in 5 games. Low point, match week 24 through 31, got 1 point. Obviously, that was the end of your guy, Mr. Rogers. Also, 1 point through match week 8 to start the year. Didn't really do anything until they blew out Nottingham Forest. It was just 2 real bad runs kind of doomed them. The Y, they didn't really know their formation. They went 4-2-3-1 for a good chunk of it, but see, I think that's the problem. They don't really have any good holding midfielders or ball winners. So it's like, what's the point of loading up the midfield? You're better off just even loading up defense at that point. But
yeah, I think they definitely lacked an identity throughout the whole season. It felt more like a group of individuals rather than a team. There's
a lot of bad individuals on this team, if I say so myself.
There were very few moments of cohesion. And the confusing thing was that there were some excellent, plays, build-up goals, and it just made you wonder, like, why isn't this happening more?
Well, and that's the thing, too. Their attack was perfectly fine, middle of the pack, slightly above middle of the pack. Their defense just completely collapsed this year. And, I mean, part of it's the goalkeeping was not good. Danny Ward ended up rebounding, and then they put Everson in at the end. But
White Iverson.
Yeah, White Iverson. 51 goals, you should be up at that point.
I mean, having
That's the same amount
guys
of
like
that's the
Daniel
same amount of
Amarte,
that's the same amount of goals as Villa.
Daniel Amarte taking time back there, the revolving door, center backs.
Can I touch on your cohesion part real
Yes.
quick? I just looking back, the idea of like they don't get rid of guys who kind of want to just go.
Mm-hmm.
Tielemans clearly wanted to go, even though he's still playing fine at moments this year.
Yeah.
It's like he's just seeing out his contract. Clearly, Rodgers like pissed off Soyuncu at some point.
Yeah.
You should have just got rid of him, or just completely had faith. Like, what's the point of just keeping him on the bench, letting him to agree to a free transfer to Atletico, and then, Dean Smith puts him in at the end of the year and he looks fine.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was very weird. I think this is what I was saying earlier. I thought Rodgers should have been sacked sooner. I think he lost the team pretty early on. He might be a good manager, but I think there's that 3 to 4 year it wears off.
Yeah, for sure. He's definitely that kind of guy that the message gets stale, and you could tell it was stale, but they were hesitant because of their success under him, winning the FA Cup. But you just had this team that looked so disjointed.
Yeah. No, 100%. Hank's vision, look ahead. Can sell a ton of guys and have the funds to bounce back. Pretty big club that can draw a name. I'm just worried if they don't bounce back, Sam. I mean, investing $100 million in your training ground and facilities, and then you have the rug pulled on you that you're no longer in the Premier League is a big issue.
Yeah, you're going to have to be a little smarter with your finances. You can't just buy a bunch of guys and try and jump right back up. You got to be smart with who you bring in and
Ross McCormack.
Yeah. A lot of work to be done.
What's your take/grade for the season? I put F and then F in chat for Vardy.
I think there's like 2 grades. At times, Leicester looked excellent. They looked like a solid mid-table club, and at times they just looked like they didn't
The worst team in the league.
didn't care at all and had no cohesion. So, like a mix of a F and a B minus, which is very strange.
No, it's just an F. This is inexcusable. I could tell right away. You didn't believe me, Sam, after that Tottenham game. That you don't just quit.
Yeah,
You just don't quit.
that was concerning.
That's like really bad. Danny Ward, like at the Brighton game where he's constantly yelling at his back line the entire match, and yet you score like 2 goals, but you lose 5-2. It just, this team with their defense was not organized. They never replaced Vardy.
Yeah, I
It's
think
sad. They have great quality in Madison and Barnes, and I mean Tielemans when he's on, but
they needed some leaders,
To step up,
kick
yeah.
guys into gear, which never really happened.
no. Which it's one of those things that makes you wonder would have helped keeping Schmeichel and stuff, but Schmeichel's no good. But at least he would have been a leader for the club and kind of. I don't think he would have allowed it to happen to be like go down the way it did. He would at least put up a fight, but I think that the talent gap for some of those guys, relying on guys like Soumare and Amarte.
Yeah, especially when Tielemans was wearing the captain's armband quite a bit, and it's like this guy doesn't even want to be there.
Yeah, he wanted to go to Arsenal so bad.
Yeah.
Very odd.
And meanwhile, you hold on to him because you think he'll help you stay up. You get relegated and you get no transfer fee.
Yeah, the only thing you do is get his wages off the books, but
So stupid.
that doesn't help.
So stupid.
Very bad. Moving on, Everton 17th place. The peak, I didn't put their peak. I don't know what their peak was. I guess just hiring Daesh. But even then,
Beating
it wasn't.
Arsenal,
Really the start of Daesh. That was
Daesh.
probably. And then just the Sean Daesh experience of seeing out a bunch of draws and stuff.
well,
I guess probably that
the-
game against
against-
Leicester that kept him up.
I would say
penalty
the
save.
win against Bright.
Oh, yeah. At the very end, too.
That was like very weird.
Yeah. Low point, the end of Fat Frank, 1 point in 7. And the 1 point was a draw with City, which I thought was funny. Why? The attack was just completely inconsistent. Really just not a great defense. I know they like to talk about, obviously Tarkovsky was a staple, but also the defense wasn't as good as you would think. The stats kind of back that up.
Well, especially when they're throwing Michael Keane back there.
Yeah. Pickford had an amazing year. Didn't realize how terrific he did stat-wise.
He's a
but
top keeper.
Yeah. And really, the main reason why they stayed up, in my opinion, the revival of Doucouré and McNeil were massive.
Yeah, the fact that Doucouré was kind of rotting away on the bench when he's like probably a top 3 player on the team.
You pretty much got a whole new player transferred in once Dyche took over because Doucouré could actually do stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, it was insane because, in prior years, Doucouré was one of the guys that was, making stuff happen, scoring goals from midfield. And, McNeil, much better season.
The
This
second
season.
half was great.
Second
the
half
first
of the
half
season.
was, nothing was
better
there.
than last season. He really did nothing.
Yes.
He scored like 1 goal last season.
Yeah, I don't even remember. Thanks, Vision, and look ahead. Something just has to change with this team, and maybe Dyche can do it, maybe he can't, but they just feel like they're on the cusp of going full Sunderland. Celebrating staying up and stuff like that. Not spending any money at all for the last 2 years. Like, I get that you blew your wad on, Ancelotti, Jaimes, and then just like completely irresponsible transfers for like Davy Clausen and stuff, but you have to spend a little money.
The fact that
you spend 15 mil on Neil Maupay.
The fact that they went from being like a solid top half team to this like relegation fodder esque team is just it is concerning.
Yeah. Still I think there should be a desire to go a bit younger and cut dead weight. I think
their recruitment needs a lot of work,
to say the least.
But they've been shopping in the bargain bin. So
for how long? Yeah. But like I said, they're big money transfers over the last couple of years. It's like, who is it? It's Neil Maupay.
Yeah, that's complete
stop
waste of money.
Stop. Your take and grade for the Everton season?
I would say D. They stayed up, but again, just another year where they're fighting off relegation. They're not getting any better. The play is pretty bad.
I'll give them a D+ just because they actually did the right move of hiring Sean Dyche.
That's true.
That deserves a little bit.
I
of
think
props.
that separates them from a team like Leeds or Southampton is that they actually went out and got a legitimate manager.
Hey, Leeds did. They just did it too late.
They did it way too late.
Yeah. What are we at 16th? Nottingham Forest. Sam thought they were going to be an all-time worst, and they were on track at one point to be absolutely terrible, it must be said.
Yes.
Peak, obviously, end of the year, 11 points from their last 5 games, Sam.
They showed up when it mattered.
Impressive draw by Chelsea did not lose to Nottingham Forest, it must be said. Low point, match week 23 through 32, 3 points from 11 games. It really felt like they were trending down, down, down.
Yeah,
to say the least.
When the home results dried up.
Yeah, it was like,
there was just nothing left. It was concerning.
When they were only getting a cool 8 points on the road this season, and you knew it was going to be that, you're like, all right. Well.
Yeah.
The why, Gibbs White, Brendan Johnson leading the counterattack. That's kind of what I said before the year as far as their keys to success, and you agreed. It's just like you're just going to have to feed into that. You're just going to have to play low block and get the ball up in open space and just run and try and have Gibbs White link with who's ever in attack. Whether we didn't know if we figured Johnson, but we didn't know if it'd be Owani, if it'd be Emmanuel Dennis, because they signed 30 guys.
No respect for Owani.
Hey,
goat,
he was popping off at the end, it must be said.
Put the team on his back.
He actually started pretty decent the first few games, and then he's gone. And the last 8 weeks, he was killing it.
Yeah.
Timely performances from guys like Danilo towards the end too. Must be said.
Buy.
It's just finding random guys to kind of patch it together.
Yeah, that was a great purchase. I mean, they bought 30 guys, so there had to be a couple good ones in there.
Yeah. We found my guy, the ultimate hipster player that no one's on except for me, the Brazilian guy. with the headband. What's his name?
Felipe?
No, it was the. I'm gonna have to look him up. I don't even remember his name now. Sam, go.
Oh, the guy with the fake hair.
Yeah, let me look at.
Yeah, what was that guy's
Let
name?
me pull up Nottingham Forest squad right here in the middle of the podcast. He better been on the bench for the end of the. I don't even think he made the bench for the last. Scarpa.
Scarpa.
Gustavo Scarpa. He was injured. He's out for the year.
R.I.P.
Gustavo Scarpa. Yes. He's 29.
Nice.
Just some random guy.
I think you got to say, Renan Lodi started popping off towards the end of the
Yeah,
season,
and
too.
it'd be nice if they could bring him back because he didn't look all that great early, but it depends what he wants to do because obviously he's that loan from Atletico and apparently wants to play Champions League, but he did look pretty decent towards the end. Their main thing going in this summer, and this was part of Hank's vision, you probably should buy or build at least a midfield of ball winners. I guess they tried to just do that with a couple of their signings. Obviously got a couple guys from Huddersfield Town and stuff like that. That didn't work out, but just fully embrace the counterattack style and buy a half-decent center back.
Yes, please buy a center
No
back.
Joe Worrell, no Willie Bolly. Please save my eyeballs.
Seriously. And they're going to have to get a solid goalkeeper. They're
going to buy. They're going to buy someone like Jan Bednarak, and I'm just going to be like, oh man.
That was a big part of their success too. Kind of the tag team of Dean Henderson and Keylor Navas.
Yeah, Dean Henderson was solid for them. A lot of people were hating on him, and then Keylor Navas was all right 10 of the year. Still going to go down as one of the all-time weirdest transfers.
Yes.
Your take and grade for them this year?
I would say a C, but they stayed up despite the fact that I thought they were going to be historically bad. But that was before they signed like 30 guys.
I think I'd give them a B- only because I did feel like this was like a 90% chance they were going down this year.
Yeah, okay.
It was
B-.
not
You can-
impressive for a good chunk of it. I
No.
will say that, but just the fact they stayed up, it's like, wow.
Yeah.
Because some of their games were actually really terrible to watch.
And I think they were also helped out by the fact that some of the teams around them
Or just completely made the wrong decisions.
so bad.
Yeah,
So
just
bad.
complete incompetence.
It's like you don't have to be good. You just don't have to be completely dumpster fire.
Yeah,
And just keep Steve Cooper for the whole season.
yeah. And it worked out.
And it
Steve
worked
Cooper
out.
actually kind of finally found his footing.
Yeah.
Let's move on. 15th place. I'm still upset that Bournemouth hasn't said something about our podcast.
Yeah.
They
Come
put
on.
a compilation together of everyone saying they're going down, and we had them staying up from the get-go.
Where's the signed copy of FIFA
From
Gary O'Neill? Go O'Neill.
Yeah.
We love you, Gary O'Neill. Come on, guys.
I'm just glad I put Martin O'Neill. You could tell I made this at 1:30 in the morning.
Yeah, I feel like not enough people are talking about what a massive accomplishment that Bournemouth came out, finishing 15th. They got this pretty shoestring budget.
To a certain extent. We'll get to that.
They spent a lot in the winter.
Yeah.
But the first half
Going
of the
in,
season,
yes, I agree. They were still already staying up. Well, not fully staying up, but they were still,
around hovering
yeah.
safety. Yeah.
They weren't nearly at the bottom. Peak was match week 27 through 34 towards the end of the year. Won 6 of 9. I think it included 2 draws and like 1 loss or something like that.
Big away wins, too.
Yes. Low point weeks 12 through 15 and then 35 through 38. They lost 4 in a row twice in those stretches. Obviously 35 through 38, they'd already stayed up and they just said, why do we care?
Yeah.
The why. Expensive but solid signings in the winter window. Big Dom and Phil Bill really got the job done early in the first part of the year.
Yeah.
We're wondering, where are the goals going to come from? And even Tavernier, when he was healthy, was having some good contributions. Set piece defending kind of kept them down, and just the defense in general sometimes was really poor. But touching on the expensive but solid signings, their one not really expensive signing was Neto, who actually was really good for them.
Someone else who I think has gotten like zero credit whatsoever.
Yeah.
Joe Rothwell.
Yeah, he was pretty good towards the end.
I'd like to see the stats of, because he didn't play for a lot
good
of the
chunk
first
of the
half
year, yeah.
of the season. I'd like to see the stats of him not in the team versus him in the team, because I think he kind of changed the dynamic, added a lot more quality in midfield.
Yeah, you can't sleep on our guy Otuara, they call him. Not on this podcast.
The Dango.
Dango. Must be said, Gary O'Neill, fantastic
Yes.
job keeping him
Everyone
up. The
doubted
main
him.
reason why, including myself, I was like, why get rid of Scott Parker? Because you lost
Yeah.
to Liverpool.
That's true.
Um,
But we believe in gas.
yeah. No, stats, not high in quantity, but pretty damn high in efficiency in terms of attack. And we mentioned that
Yeah.
early on in the year.
Very efficient.
When they had good link-up play going forward, it felt like something dangerous was about to occur. It was just the matter of the fact they never really had the ball all that much. Hank's vision and look ahead, in the same way that Forrest could use a ball winner, I think Bournemouth could use a guy that kind of gets the ball for him in midfield, helps out in terms of, keeping possession for him and whatnot.
Yeah, they don't have Lerma anymore.
And I think a good partner for Worrell would be a good...
For Worrell?
Yeah, for Joe Worrell, the guy who I just hated on Nottingham Forest. I think you could use some more defense, even a wide kind of player. You just lost Lerma in that defensive aspect in midfield, going to Palace on a free. So I think the main thing is having a ball winner
But
out
they
there.
got the big Ukrainian lad,
Yeah.
Zabrovsky or whatever the hell his name is. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, we'll see. Bournemouth kind of feel like the way we were saying that Leicester's kind of a bunch of mercenaries thrown together and they all hate each other and didn't work out. Bournemouth, in a sense, kind of feel that way, but they all kind of work.
Yeah.
And it makes sense in a weird, odd way.
Yeah.
Sam, what's your take and grade away?
My grade for
takeaway and grade
for Bournemouth would be B, as in
Yes.
Michael Bournemouth Jordan.
Yeah.
I would say, hey, you did what you needed to do. You stayed up. You found a way. And now the biggest key is you stayed up. Now you got to capitalize. You got to bolster the squad, get what you can to make it a sustainable team so that you're not just scraping by.
Yeah.
How do you get up? How do you,
Claw your way, stay
claw
up.
your way up to get into like a solid midfield,
Mid-table.
mid-table team? And that's,
Yeah.
that's going to take work.
I think a lot of people give them a higher grade than us. Not that we're too harsh on Bournemouth, but we just had their team, like we said, it was a bunch of kind of random guys thrown together, but if you look at it, it makes sense. So I think we had more faith, so that's why we're not so impressed. Like some people are like, oh, Bournemouth stay up. What the heck? So I think B is the right grade.
Yeah. And, I mean, let's be honest. It wasn't the flashiest.
No, but
It was highly efficient.
You don't need that.
Yeah.
You need stuff that makes sense and
Substance.
Their style made sense. 14th place, West Ham. Peak was match week 27 through 32. They got 11 points in 6 games. Low point, match weeks 14 through 20, where they had 1 point. Looked like Moyes was on the brink. Main reason why, Bowen drop off, but really all the attack was inconsistent.
Yeah.
And part of that ties to the players. Antonio, I think, was just he's just not there. Skamaka could not adjust to the team. Part of it, too, is just Moyes' tactics. The whole playing out of the back and like having your center backs play the ball, pass it forward to the Rice, and then they play it immediately back, and then you hoof it long, and it's like, what are you doing? This is weird.
Yeah,
But yet you're like
not
having to
committing,
absorb
guys.
pressure because you're not able to penetrate the other team's defense. You're not playing quick in midfield, link-up play. Complete misuse of Paqueta early on. I think that's the main reason why, but also why they stayed up too. They finally adjusted, made the right decisions. Towards the end of the year, 1 or 2 off games where they didn't look completely right, but the tactic at least looked better, made more sense.
Got some more production out of Bowen.
Mm-hmm. Towards the end.
Paqueta.
So, yes. Hank's vision and look ahead. The Rice sweepstakes. You're going to get about anywhere from 90 to 120 million pounds, depends on a bidding war. You'll probably cut ties with Skamaka on the cheap, unfortunately, for your sake, but I think it makes the most sense. He's just not a Moyes player. And it even feels like even if you bring in a manager, a new one, it feels like the Skamaka thing might just not work out. He feels like one of those guys where he's just going to have to be in Italy for it to work. But, do they have the pull now that they're European champions, Sam? Winning the Conference League.
Well, speaking of work to be done, they got some work to be done. How do they take a Rice and turn it into
depth, which they've needed for
positions?
Yeah, needed for a while.
They definitely need to bring in a goal scorer. I think it would be the right time to bring in a different manager, freshen things up, but I think they'll probably stick with Moyes, and then that'll probably turn sour.
Which, I don't know why, if you're Moyes, why can't you just go out on top? There are rumors that he might take the Celtic job, now that the Celtic manager left for Tottenham, because apparently it's been a lifelong dream of him to manage Celtic. Who knows? You never know. It's not from the horse's mouth, so you never know, but I think that would make way more sense for him. Just end it on a good note. Yeah. West Ham, you can kind of do a little retool on the fly. You're going to have so much money to work with.
Yeah.
I hope they don't put it into Ward-Prowse. I hope you spend 30 to 40 mil on Harvey Barnes. You can have Bowen and Barnes going forward.
That'd be good.
I think if you get the guy from Coventry and you rotate Ings, Antonio, and that guy, you could maybe have something there as a 9. As far as midfield, they've been rumored with Paulinho from Fulham. You can get him. He's the best ball winner in the league last year. Mm-hmm. West Ham fans love their center back still, especially Zuma. Zuma's fine.
Kurt the cat kicker.
Yeah, Kurt the cat kicker. I think you need to bolster that. Keeper, you can still just rely. Fabianski's good, and you still have Areola. That's fine. So I'd say the main thing would be defense. Obviously, the Rice replacement or replacements to kind of, because you're not going to have one guy to replace him, but
fullbacks
and then bolster.
Upgrade.
Okay, yeah. I'll bring Ben Johnson in here. You say that to his face.
I like Ben Johnson. Aaron Cresswell.
He's a bit past it.
He's past it.
Shufal was really bad early, and then he kind of played better late. But at the same time, it's like, are you going to rely on that? He's kind of older now. I don't like that. So
Souček, you need to move on from him.
Yeah, it feels like he could do a nice reboot, and not to mention, it could have turned sour given those guys were, they played well for you, and then you see their way out. But you're European champions. Close it on a good note, kind of transition a little bit while you have all this money. What's your take and grade for them?
I'd give them like a C- solely for the fact that they won the Conference League.
Yeah, but this is just Premier League. Come on now.
Okay, well then like
D?
Probably a D.
D plus,
the
maybe?
Big drop off.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fair. I agree. 13th place, Wolverhampton Wanderers. Sam alluded to. I'm wearing a Wolves shirt right now. Peak. I looked at their season. I don't know what their peak was. I guess like just once Lopetegui took over and you look at just their home games.
Diego Costa getting a red card.
That was pretty good. Diego Costa like almost fighting Tyrone Mings.
That's peak.
In the Midlands action. Yeah, really just Lopetegui at home, I guess, was the peak. Early on, it was pretty bleak. Slow start to the season, winning 1 game in the opening 9. Bruno Lage, remember that guy? Saw his way out. It felt like people were a little perplexed early on as to why they were struggling so much. We figured Wolves would have a tougher time this year. Didn't score. They scored at pretty much the same as Norwich last year, and then this year wasn't much better. Still scored the least amount of goals.
Yeah.
The why, just way too many pseudo strikers. I'm calling them pseudo strikers / combo attackers of like, you know what I'm talking about. It's the high profile ones are the guys like Kai Havertz, but this whole idea
they don't
of
really
like
have a position.
It's like you look at a guy and you're like, he's gonna be our Santi Cazorla, and it's like, okay, except he's not as good and he's not popping up in the right spots and stuff, and it's like, what does this guy do again? Or you're like, wait, he's out there? Oh, I didn't even notice he was out there.
Yeah, or you stick him up at like as a number 9 when they're
and then it's really bad because you're like,
9.
what is he doing? forever relying or over relying on Neves, who's apparently gonna go to Barca, but I don't trust anything with Barca these days because they're
A meme tier club.
they're just they might be the most sketch club that there is. Who could trust them with finances?
You
these
know
days?
the problem with Wolves? Not enough Adama Traore.
Well, I said that they're missing a deep lying playmaker. They're officially losing Adama Traore now.
Farewell,
How about
sweet
that?
prince.
So I think let's get to the Hanks vision and look ahead. Huge summer. I've talked about it before. I feel like they're a top 5 team in terms of most intriguing as far as where things can go. They need a 9, just an out-and-out 9. I think the Coventry guy could work for them. I don't know how to say his last name. I just know his first name's
Georgis?
Victor. There you go.
Something along those lines.
Something like that. The Scandinavian lad. Need a ball winner and potentially a deep lying playmaker if you can. The only issue, apparently their finances are not looking so hot.
Yeah, that's concerning.
And we don't know if Lopetegui's staying, which will be a huge issue.
Yeah.
Things could go really south for Wolves fast. But I feel like even if they just get a 9, it's going to change a lot of things. A guy to just pop up at the right time and actually score goals for them. It's just a matter of, I don't know what their budget's going to look like. I don't know what their style is going to be. If Lopetegui leaves, who's going to come in?
Yeah, when they get rid of Neves and now they're relying on Mario Lamina to hold down the midfield.
There you go. Walking yellow card. João Moutinho still going to be on the team?
Rolling out there.
I feel like he's due for a good old. He might be too cooked for Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
They might not even. They might only offer him like $90K. They'll offer him like a normal Premier League player wages. Oh, also did not include this in the stats and kind of the why. Their defense was just okay. I thought it would be a lot better. Nathan Collins, not as good as you thought. Kilman was decent at times, especially early and kind of faded. The main thing, the Jose Sa drop off, which was bound to happen. I mean, last year he was out of his mind at times. Yeah, we'll see. They have the attacking guys, a mix of people with, Podence, Matthias Nunes, Sam's guy Joe Hodge.
Joe Hodge, let's go.
There's so many guys on this team that I've given up on in terms of like Pedro Neto and stuff. It's like I'm just sick of looking at some of these guys. Chan, giving up on Mr. He Chan.
Yeah.
He's just injured all the time. So I don't know. I don't feel great about Wolves going forward. It's spooky, but we'll see. Sam, what's your take and grade for them?
Honestly, they were pretty awful for a lot of the season, and when they turned it around, they had some decent play, but they couldn't really.
They got back to what they kind of do best in terms of like keeping your shape defensively, hitting the counter every once in a while.
Yeah.
Their main trouble is when they get caught in possession because they cannot break down. Not even a low block, just like any defense. They're just like we have the ball.
Yeah, they have
we're going
no
nowhere
idea
with
what to do with the ball. It doesn't help that they, obviously the striker position was a bit of a question mark. I would say
no,
like
I know what it was.
C-.
Was it a question mark? Because you just threw Diego Costa out there. You kind of knew what it was.
Yeah, rolling out Diego Costa for
It
20
wasn't a question
games.
mark. It was the poop emoji out there.
It was like, am I a joke to you?
So wait, what grade did you give him?
Like a C-, D+.
Yeah, I'd say C- is fair. Let's move on. The best team in the league, the biggest underdogs, somehow achieving 12th place. Todd Bowley's men.
Good meal.
Good meal. 12th place, good meal.
Chelsea are going to finish 12th place. Good meal.
Win 3-0. The peak of Chelsea, match week 6 through 11, 4 wins in 4 games. One of them was Tommy Tuck, and then he got sacked. And the 3 others were Potter. The low point, truly the whole year, but I think if you pinpointed one moment, it had to be the loss at home to Southampton. Losing to rock bottom at home was really bad.
Rough.
Especially since I talked about betting it on this podcast and did not bet it. At obscene odds.
Fool
Fool
of a Tuck.
Southampton's got some great odds. The why. Just disorganization from top down. The Thomas Tuchel, you invested in him, you let him make choices. He made terrible choices. You bought those guys anyways, then you sacked him anyways.
So stupid.
The mixing of playing certain guys, not playing some guys. Reece James being your best player, and then he was injured, but also misuse. Also, I think he was just out of it and just not playing well at a good chunk of the year. Mason Mount turning into Dele Alli 2.0. Am I missing anything that needs to be up there?
Spending like 80 mil on Mudryk halfway through the season for zero production.
Yeah, that's not ideal.
To an 8-year contract. Todd
Yes.
Bowley at the wheel masterclass.
It truly is.
Mark Cucurella
Completely falling off a cliff.
Falling off a cliff.
Yeah, coming in looking fine, and then it just did not go well. Stats, I mean, they created a good amount of chances. It's just their efficiency was, believe it or not, absolutely terrible. Defense faded as the year went on. Defense was excellent to start the year and even through the middle of the year, but the last third of the year, just when there's nothing to play for, really fell off. Hank's vision and look ahead. Huge rebound chance under Pochettino. A lot of fans did not like the Pochettino hire. Wanted Luis Enrique, who's still out of a job and not even Tottenham will hire him. Or they wanted Nagelsmann, who appears set for PSG. I feel like Poch was the safest move. I think your only thing you could say that'd be negative about Poch, and people say, oh, he can't break down low block. I don't care about that. It might be, well, if this ownership group made all these bad choices, who's to say Pochettino won't be a bad choice for Chelsea because this ownership group doesn't know what they're doing? That's really all I can say as far as why it might be a bad choice.
But what if you subscribe to the Nottingham Forest that, one of these have to pan out?
Oh, there you go. That makes sense. Just the need to offload so many guys.
Yeah.
And it's very odd that Chelsea are like holding out for money for some of these guys like Havertz and stuff. And it's like
70 mil for Kai Havertz.
no, not 70 mil for Havertz, for Mount.
No, I saw 70 mil. Arsenal
show
are
me.
interested in Kai Havertz, but are put off by the 70 million pound.
We'll see that. Because I heard that Real Madrid want to do it for 40. Yeah, this is Reddit. Who cares about Reddit? Yeah.
70 million
Reddit.
pound price tag.
Reddit doesn't matter.
Todd Bowley's at the wheel. He thinks the price he pays for people is
Yes.
the price that they can sell guys at.
Yes, of course.
70 mil.
Well,
for
he didn't
Havertz,
even pay.
70
He
mil
didn't even
for
pay
Mount.
for Havertz. That's the thing. But he's like, "What did we buy him for? Okay, it has to be this." No, I think it's a matter of these guys will eventually be sold, but you just have to come to the realization that you have to cut ties with these guys as soon as possible to create the biggest window of bringing in guys. Obviously, you're off to a slow start, not getting Aguarte after. Did you read about that? How that fell apart? They offered him like really low wages. He still wanted to go, and then PSG tried to spite Chelsea over, get ready for this, Chelsea buying Ziyech from PSG. So they
Respect.
spited him, and they offered Aguarte like 10 mil per year or something like that.
Yeah,
So-
all I knew was Hank was like, yes,
As John Morley.
get in, proper
good
Chelsea
six-
signing.
And then I got
You
there, I
have got to be fucking kidding me.
full John
What
Morley.
the fuck is wrong with
my
Chelsea
club?
Football Club? Fucking shambolic. Get Todd Bully the fuck out of my club.
I would never say that, though. I love you, Todd.
Good meal, my fucking arse.
Hold that.
Hold that.
Sam, what's your take and grade?
F,
Yes.
but it was wonderful to see the continuation of Charity FC.
Yeah.
Todd
Well,
Bowley,
they
the
care.
ultimate Charity FC,
They care.
handing out 8-year contracts so much that they had to make a rule to prevent him from hurting himself. They're
I
like,
love
you,
it.
You can't keep doing this silly
He's-
accounting.
He's going to keep doing it, and that's why he's great.
Todd Bowley's like, I'm going to turn Chelsea into the LA Dodgers of the
Yes.
Premier League. It's going to be a good meal. Chelsea 3-0 in the Super Bowl.
You're going to cry when Chelsea does become the Dodgers and you're just sitting
Yes.
there, and Arsenal's going to be the Padres of spending a ton of money, and then they're just bad, and you're
Yes.
like, I hate my life.
It's always wonderful when Chelsea are a complete meme. I love it.
Enjoy it while you can.
I love it. And
Enjoy it while you can.
I think peak
Is
here-
when I
here's
get
peak-
upset.
Here's peak.
When I get
Here's
upset.
peak Chelsea. When Hank goes, I don't know if I can do it anymore. It's just miserable.
After one bad year. One bad year in like 5 years.
Yes.
And I'm like,
And now you experience the true pain where you just start to feel numb about it all.
Yes. Last team of this one. Crystal Palace, 11th place. The peak, Sam. The peak. If you would have told me the peak of Palace this year was this, I would have slapped you. I would have slapped you silly. Roy Ball.
We're going
Roy
from
Hodgson was the
Patrick
peak.
Vieira to Roy Hodgson.
And it's going to work. It's going to work.
Can you believe it?
The low point, match weeks 19 through 28, 5 points. It just got dire with Vieira, the Y, striker spot, the rotation, Edouard, Mateta. It feels like it's just not going to work for either of them. Even though they'll, bag like a couple goals a year and have a little run, it just feels like they can't string it together. The midfield balance at times was off, and that was mainly due to Vieira just being a little too defensive, and not just letting Etse and Elise be out there at all times.
Yeah, that was my biggest problem, is that Eze should have been starting literally every game.
The main reason for their success was a balance of terrific play from Ducore, but also Joachim Andersen.
Yeah.
Even though advanced stats will apparently tell you that Mark he was amazing. I've been
He
sending
did
Sam
not
these
pass
advanced
the eye
stats.
test this
He
season.
was better last year. That's why I was
Yeah,
confused by that
for sure.
advanced stats saying he's so good. And I was like, I didn't see that. Hank's vision, look ahead. Just soft striker. Just not even a rotation. They were always rumored with Moussa Dembele from when he was at Celtic, and then he went to Lyon. Now he's a free agent. Maybe bring him in. I don't know. Obviously, the Wilf solution, I don't know what that is. He wasn't super impactful this year.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think signing him to a contract extension would be a huge mistake.
I wouldn't say disastrous levels, but it would set you back. Even though he's a club legend, I wouldn't do it. Goalkeeper plans is a question mark because Guaita's been fine, to say the least, at times. He's been good.
Sam Johnston.
Yeah, Sam Johnstone was coming in, and I wouldn't say he was bad or good. He was just
I
kind of
like him.
He was just
I like him.
maybe with a good run, he can just get his feet established. Because he was good at West Brom at
he's
times.
A solid keeper.
Hey, that's what I just said. West Brom.
he's a solid keeper.
Yeah,
He's a great keeper.
yeah. There you go.
I'm just gonna start having Pacino outbursts on the
Yes.
podcast.
Sam, your take and grade away for Crystal Palace this year.
I feel like Crystal Palace sums up the bottom half of the Premier League is just like
What happened?
so weird. Like even looking back at these final standings, it's like
11th.
it's
huh?
almost like a musical chairs of like, okay, well I guess this team was kind of peaking towards the end and this team kind of fell
Yeah.
off. I don't know if it's like a true reflection of the level of these teams because it's almost like 11 through 20. There's so little
randomness and not a huge separation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, they were packed in pretty tight for
Yeah.
a while.
True. Yeah, it was really anyone from like 12th on could get relegated at one point.
Yeah.
So,
But Crystal Palace specifically, obviously, Roy Hodgson is not your long-term
debatable.
solution unless you learn how to like turn him into a cyborg or
He
something.
could. If anyone could, it could be him. What's your solution for manager for them?
That's a good question. Graham Potter.
Okay. That'd be nice.
But I don't think
I don't know if they
I don't
pay.
think
I
Graham
don't know
Potter will
if he'll go
be
there.
interested in that.
Yeah.
I think he probably holds out for a little better job.
It is kind of odd that it takes a special kind of person to take the Palace job, mainly because, I mean, even think back when Fat Frank was available and it was Everton who were clearly like not going to spend money in a rebuild or
Yeah.
Palace. And it's like, Palace is a clear choice here. And he's like, Everton. It's like, okay. I
That
don't
was a
know.
bad idea.
Yeah, I was like,
I wonder if he regrets that.
eh.
He
got the
Stevie
Chelsea
G?
job.
Stevie G.
He's going to Leeds. He's another guy rumored to Leeds.
They are a match made in heaven. Two freaking awful footballing communities.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to think of who's available for Palace to take. Big Sam, run it back.
Run it back.
Yeah,
Alan Pardew.
Alan Pardew, get a little dancey dance going. What was your biggest surprise of the bottom half of the table this year?
Oh, it's got to be Chelsea, right?
Well, that doesn't count
Okay.
because
if you
obviously
go,
Chelsea in the bottom half is nuts.
if you go
It
outside
just has
of
to
Chelsea,
be Leicester.
probably Leicester. Yeah.
Yeah,
Or
maybe West Ham, but probably not.
maybe Bournemouth.
Really think Bournemouth. You think Bournemouth's more surprising than West Ham being down there? Bournemouth being 15th.
I mean, you could see West Ham, a problem when you start having European competitions. You get a lot more
Especially when
games
you
and-
don't have depth.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What was your favorite aspect of the bottom half of the table? Is it just Etse?
I would say my favorite aspect was that
Because I think that's mine.
for most of
watching
the
him play.
season, there was just kind of like,
Or Diego Costa. Diego Costa being thrown in there might be my favorite.
I like that you didn't have an idea of who was going to go down other than like
Relegation races
Southampton.
are always incredibly fun.
Yeah,
I think
it's
most
much
people know
better
that,
than the
but-
title.
Well, title now. Ideally, the title race coming down to the final day is exciting, like it was last year. But this
Not
year it
when you
was,
have City.
yeah. Well, you just know that they'll
Kick
come
them
out
out
on
of
top.
the league.
Get your European Super League out of my face. Sam, is there anything you'd like to say before we put a bow on this one? There you go. That's pretty good.
Yeah. I'm sure that
Leave it to
doesn't
Mr.
pick up on the microphone.
Leave
but-
it to Al Pacino to let us know that.
Yeah, I don't know. I thought the bottom half was more interesting than the top half.
Yeah,
A lot of parity in the bottom half. Although a lot of frustration in the bottom half because it's like there's a lot of teams that if you just did like
one simple solution.
some
it'd
simple
be,
things,
you could
you could be in 11th place.
Yeah, but instead only Crystal Palace can be in 11th place now.
Yeah.
Next week we do the same thing but with the top half. After that, the Hankies.
Yes.
Yes, he
Yes.
says yes.
Yes.
Some exciting stuff coming up, to say the least.
Yeah. I heard Al Pacino's really excited.
He's always excited.
All right. Well, that does it for this episode. Thanks for tuning in. As always, leave a like, leave a comment, do what you do. We love you. We appreciate you. Send them on out.
Adios, mis amigos. Yeah, that's it.